You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Welcome into On My Block Podcast, the Green Bay Packer Podcast. I'm your host, Ahman Green, along with my good friend and teammate Mike Wall. Mike, how you doing?
AG, you can see that I'm in the True Hotel by Hilton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm on the road today, but happy to be here with you.
Hey, some days those road trips gets interesting. And we're just talking about nap time. So did you get a nap today, or are you gonna get one later?
I just took a 20-minute nap today. I went out. I woke up this morning. I'm in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I went to Liberty University. They got a great program there, and I went and I worked out pretty hard. And then I kind of watched them do their sprint stuff and all their training. It's fantastic. Their coach, their strength coach Dom is amazing. The program he's got running. But I came back here, took a quick nap because I wanted to be fresh for this. And I don't know about you, but we were just talking about it. It's like I don't feel like it's because I've gotten older, because I feel like I should have been doing this forever. But like when I hit like 30, I was like, man, these naps feel pretty good. Like I take like a quick 15, 20-minute nap every day. And I feel amazing. Yeah,
those are cat naps. I know over in Europe, I've been to Barcelona. I don't know if you've been there yet, but they have their siesta times. And I remember going there in like 2015, and I noticed that the restaurants were shut down at certain times of the day, and I'm like, what's going on? And I've actually talked to one of the restaurant owners. They spoke a little English and told us what they were doing. It's the siesta time.
It's better now because they've kind of like made it. They've Western European Americanized their culture because they want to make money,
right?
Like tourism. But I remember we went back. We were there, and we were in Spain, and 10 years before that. And 2 o'clock, you weren't getting in anywhere. There was nothing to eat.
No,
and that was I was 295. It's like it's eating time. Every 2 hours was eating time. And I went into full panic mode, just full. I couldn't be in Spain. Now I love it there now, but I can't be there. I couldn't be there 15 years ago when I was in 295 weight, full panic mode.
I understand that full panic mode is when because your body, we know as trained athletes, our bodies are like on a clock. We know when it's time to eat, take a nap, whatever. It's like, all right, I need to eat something. It's going to be a problem. That's what I tell them. If I'm out with somebody, I'm like, look, I need food right now. I don't know what we got planned, but I need something in my stomach or it's going to be a problem. I'm just letting you know, okay? If I get upset, don't be surprised, okay? So I think last week I had to read. You could go knock it out this week, Mike.
Yeah, man, our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports information. Find out all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including NBA Summer League, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, you put $100 in, they give you $150 to spend. Use our promo code BELIEVE to bonus and get the action online where the game starts.
Nice. So we're going into what we have for our Packer podcast. We're trying to pull stuff together because we only have another week or so, and then we can actually talk about some actual tangible stuff. But until that time, we're gonna take you down memory lane. So, Mike, what's your first memory of training camp here? You have here on the show.
The story I think I've told that I usually tell is getting on the signing my contract. I'm a supplemental draft pick. I haven't been to any mini camps, anything. So my first time I wore a Packers helmet was it was either week 3 or week 4 of training camp. So that was the first time I literally had ever been involved in anything in professional football.
And that was 99, right?
That was 98. So you think about all the mini camps, rookies, symposium, all that. I did none of that. I just showed up one day. They're like, here's a helmet. By the way, you're playing football again for the Green Bay Packers. Mike Holmgren comes, chews me out for holding out, hates me, hates my agent. Goes, but I'll tell you the thing that I
wonder why we get along so much. I was in that. Yeah. I've been chewed out by him. So no worries.
So, but the thing I remember maybe the most about that day, and I won't get into full details, but I remember after that first practice, my head was kind of spinning. And Frank Winters was like, come on, we're going to the bar. During training camp, I was like, what? I'm a college kid. It's not like I know what alcohol smells like. But I was like, what? We're going to go drink right now? And he's like, we're going to the bar. We're having some Bud Lights. And remember, you always had to drink Bud Lights. And when you were Frankie, you were drinking Bud Lights. So Bud Lights or bust, nothing else, right? And so we're sitting there at the bar. I can't remember if it's the bar in De Pere. I can't remember what it was. We sat down and you ordered a couple beers. It's not we weren't going to sit there and get drunk or nothing, but have a couple beers. And people are walking in, and the way Frankie talks to people, and he was so at ease with everyone who walked. It was one of those kind of experiences like, oh, this is going to be okay. Like this ain't a bad way to do business. Is this what we do every day? And
Right.
that was not what we do every day, but
True.
Frank Winters was a character. I always considered him. He wouldn't know this, but I always considered him a mentor and a guy I really looked to and learned a lot from. So that was kind of I think that was a special experience for me.
Yeah. Frankie Baker Donuts. He just, I know for him at that time, he'd been in Green Bay for a lot of years, and no surprise that he knew a lot of people then, because I do events with him now, and he comes back up, and he's still chit-chatting away.
The mayor.
Yeah,
he's still the mayor.
Definitely.
What about you?
My first training camp moment, man. So I'm in Seattle. It's 1998. If we want to start from the beginning, but so I just remember learning that Washington State had a desert, because Washington, I think Seattle, I'm at mini camps.
Where my family's from.
Right. And all I think is rain clouds and the mountains and good scenery and, not too hot weather, moderate. But then when we get to Eastern Washington over in Spokane, I'm like, what the HE, what happened here?
I forgot that you guys used to go over there. That's
right. And I was like, this is not Washington State. I'm thinking I'm in Nevada somewhere. I'm like, I've been in Las Vegas. This is desert weather. They're like, no, it's when you get past the mountains,
you go over the Snoqualmie Pass.
Man, it is,
and
dry.
It just stops. And so my dad's family is from, like, they're all cowboys. Like one of my great uncles was like one of the original Marlboro man or something.
No surprise. That does not surprise me about you.
There's a rodeo. There's a rodeo in Ellensburg just past the Snoqualmie Pass, halfway to Spokane. We were like carnies or something. I mean, of course we were.
We have so much in common. Let me tell you this real quick. So beyond my training camp story, what you just said, your great grandfather or relative was a cowboy. My mom told me that one of my great grandparents was a sheriff in a town in Texas. He was the type of sheriff. He shot first, asked questions second.
I think that's what they do now, unfortunately. But
unfortunately, right? But back then you had to. Back then, I guess you definitely had to back in those days, because you didn't know what was coming off the tower. So we got that in common. And then, like I said, so it wasn't training camp when Homer got into I got on his bad list. It was my first training camp with him in '99 when he took over as the head coach and /GM. And he just it came out through preseason. I dropped the ball a couple of times on the ground, but it was just me, like you said, head spinning, trying to learn plays. I got this new West Coast offense that I am excited about, because I know what the West Coast offense is about. It's a good balanced offense. You could run and pass in it. And I fumbled the ball, like I said, in preseason a couple of times. I even called my agent and said, look, call the Mariners. Let them know I'll back up Ken Griffey. This is not going good. I got a bad feeling about this. I'm like, I'm going to be gone here after this.
Mike did not like you putting the ball on the ground.
No, he didn't like it.
That was his thing. He just –
so
most valuable resource.
Exactly. I knew that. So I'm like, all right, man. I'm like being real with myself. I'm like, I could be a Mariner right now, or I could be back in Omaha, Nebraska, doing something, whatever I got to find.
But there was 31 other teams that you play for.
True. But
but that's how we are, right? You get so dialed in, and then it's like, I remember when I just played turn. I was a human turnstile my third year.
Right.
We talked about it before, and I just remember calling my dad, and I'm like, man, I guess I'm gonna go work in your factory. And he's like, he goes, because I was getting benched. I just wasn't playing very well. Things weren't going like they wanted. And it's like it goes from you're like at the top, and then the cliff just goes straight down. There's no like, well, you could try this. You could just get better. You could. We immediately go to like grounds. Well, I'm going to be dead in like 3 days, so I guess it doesn't matter anyway. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I exactly know what you mean there. So I'm talking to Michael Black. He was the other running back in the room. He's like, AG, man, calm down. I was like, man, I'm out of here, man. I'm going to be a Mariner, or maybe I'm too short for basketball, so I can't play for the Supersonics. I'll just go back to Nebraska. I could maybe coach there, high school, maybe. I'm thinking moderate level.
What I love about you is just football players have this because we have to feel like we're invincible.
Right.
But like it's like you wanted to play rugby. It's like, I'm just going to play rugby. It's just a thing that you do. And your assumption, like your thought process was, oh, I'm good enough to just back up Ken Griffey and the Mariners, or God, if I was just a little bit taller, I'd probably just play with Dale Ellis on the Supersonics. Like it wasn't really that big of a deal. Like those guys really aren't. Like they don't do this their whole lives to be good enough to play. I probably could just walk in. I got like one of my best friends. I remember one of my best friends was a college wrestler. Okay. And he played rugby. And when Tauscher blew his knee out, he came out to San Diego, and I was helping him rehab. And we were doing some work and doing some field work and everything.
Right.
And my buddy just wanted to help, and he's a big dude, right? And I remember I wouldn't let him in the drills because I knew he was going to go crazy. And eventually he couldn't help himself. He ran on the field, and the first thing he did, he pass rushed Tauscher and like hit him in the face. Like we're not with no pads, it's like conditioning drill. And like Tauscher's lips bleed, and he's like, "What the hell? What are we doing?" And I'm like, I just look at my buddy Tom. I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" And he's like, And so we get in the car, and he's quiet for a minute, and he goes, he's like, I just know I could have played pro football. What? I'm like, Rudy, you're a 215-pound wrestler. What are you talking about? He's like, I just know, like, I played at, high school. If I just would have decided, I could have played that. I could have been a pro. We know, like, we have a mutual friend that, like, always says he played pro ball. He didn't, right. But but it's a good story. And he's always like, I'm just like him. I just could have played pro. And I go, he didn't play, right? Like, it's just a story.
That's classic, right?
But no, but I just love that. Like, I like to surround myself with people who are like, yeah, why can't I do that? Like, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that was a mindset. And but no, as we know, the record, everything got fixed. I got through my 99 season, stayed on the team, and it led to here. But yeah, training camp. I say one thing about that rookie camp. You remember, during my time here in Green Bay, you remember I would cramp up a lot.
Yep.
Yep. So my first cramp in Seattle, I almost probably died, okay? Because it took them an hour to find a vein to get the IV bags in me. And this was me being a rookie. Yeah, so this is what happened. Me being a rookie, and I guess the training staff, I'm a rookie. They don't really have a whole lot of respect for me. I tell them before, like halfway through practice, I could feel the cramps coming. I'm like, hey, guys, like I go grab some water, Gatorade. I said, hey, to the head trainer. I said, can you get a couple bags ready? I've been getting cramps my whole life, so I know they're coming. So could you get a couple bags ready for me? And he's like, okay. And so practice over. I'm like locking up in my hammies, my calves, my back. I'm walking in like a zombie now. And I'm like, it's here. And none of the bags are ready. None of the bags are ready. They're like, oh.
You were a big dog at Nebraska. Not
okay. Is that that's where you're going to go to me?
No, it's not. It's not me. I'm just telling you the truth. That's how it is, right? Right. You got to prove yourself. Well, it's not that way anymore. But like back in the day, back in the day when you were a rookie, there was still rookie hazing.
Yes.
You're going through all that stuff. The guys don't care. Mike and Holmgren wasn't about rookie hazing at all. But he's also like, you're going to earn my respect, right? Until you earn my respect, you're probably not going to get theirs either.
Right. So,
I'm talking about the staff and everything, right?
Exactly. So I get in there, and the bags are not ready, and like an hour goes by, and I'm like, shoot me. I said, just shoot me. Because every muscle in my body has no moisture. I said, shoot me in the head right now. Just kill me. Right. That's what y'all might. Just kill me. I said, this is how much pain. And you know me, Mike. I could take pain. I was like, just kill me. I said, because this is torture. This kill me now. But obviously, I didn't. I'm still here talking. But I was like, come on, guys. So now y'all know. Next time I cramp up, I'm real. I'm not messing around. This is not
charity softball tournament round in third.
No, none of that. None of that, man. All right,
let's hit this back nine, man. So we got 17 games this year. We hit the first 8, and we're gonna. I think I'm at 5-2, and you're at 4-3, maybe, or vice. No, wait, it's 5-3 and 6-2.
I said like a little surprise with Minnesota, and then Tampa on the road, and then the Buffalo Bills. So I know I had those 3 losses for sure. So that puts it at what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5-3. 5-3.
So I'm 6-2.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So we start out with this. I think this. First of all, I think this back nine's harder. It's a harder, overall. I know we got Tampa, you got Buffalo. They're gonna be tough games.
Yeah.
Vikings at home to start off with the new coaching staff that usually does. Usually is a tough game, but we got a couple. Listen, let's do this time, AJ. We'll go through the same process, but. If you think that there's no I think we got a couple Bears games in here, and I just wrote.
We got a couple Bears. We have the Vikings and Detroit. We got two Lions games here.
So the Detroit Lions, you think they're going to win one of these. So we're at the Lions for our ninth game of the season. You know, Ben Johnson, a guy I worked with in Miami, a guy I really like, young coach, smart, super energetic, and one of Dan Campbell's kind of quote unquote guys. You know, the question is, can a guy like that guide Jared Goff in a more productive season? And I would imagine that in their meeting room, just knowing Dan and knowing like their mentality, because they're all the whole coaching staff's ex-players, their mentality's got to be, hey, listen, the first thing we got to do is knock off Green Bay, right? That's what Lovie Smith did when he came into Chicago. It was all about knocking off Green Bay, and that's how they kind of built their program. You build your program in college around winning your conference. You build your program in the pros about beating the best team, and that's what the Packers are. So I think, if anything, it's a good measure of how our trenches are going to hold up, because we talked about it last week. I really think the Lions have a great offensive line with a great coach, and so it'll be good to see. I think we're going to win, but I figure like we're always going to split one of these Lions games just because they have 2 Super Bowls during the year. It's us twice.
Right. But I'm gonna go the other way. I don't think they're going to win these 2 at all. I think it's still a process of getting better, even though you had the young rookie, Aquemini St. Brown's brother, Ahman St. Brown, had a great rookie year, and the defense, and everybody came around Dan Campbell at the end of the year for that team. And you got Aiden Hutchinson, doing him. He's coming in camp serious. This is about business. I just think they're not in that, I'll say that neighborhood to get 2 wins against the Packer team right now. Mm-hmm. So I see them, playing good, playing hard for those games. And there could be a possibility big play happen here or there. And then mid-season, then now you're kind of in your flow of offense, defense. Players are in there now, mid-season form. And I say just overall, Packers got a lot more players that are, higher, I say threshold players.
No, they're just better players. Better quality. The quality is high, right? Exactly. I mean, I think the Packers are going to win too. Let me ask you this, because this comes up, and people love Dan because he's biting kneecaps, and he's just a guy you can't help but like. Honestly,
correct.
You can't help but like the guy. But with all that said, we've been in these rooms before, and the value that you can love your coach, okay, but the value that the coaching staff has for you is, are they going to be able to make you the best version of yourself so you can perform at your highest level to help the team win, 100%. Right? And at the end of all of this, it still comes down to, are you able to outthink a Bill Belichick? Are you able to outcoach a Bill Callahan on the offensive line, right? Are you able, is your quarterback coach going to develop talent, or are they going to run an offense like Sean McVay has been able to kind of develop some of these guys, or create an offense around a guy like Jared Goff, who had his best seasons in Los Angeles? So with all of the love and the attention that, Dan and that staff gets for their personalities, and well-deserved. And again, like it seems like a group you'd love to be a part of.
Right.
I don't know how much that translates to on-field wins, because at the end of the day, you have to have talent. They don't draft, and they haven't historically drafted very well.
Yeah, and I 100% agree, because having buy-in from the players obviously doesn't make it better, but at least from a coaching standpoint, they're listening to you. That's about it. But so I see Lions losing these 2 games, but playing well. It's going to be some exciting games because of a rivalry game. So the next, what's the next game on this list now?
Cowboys.
Ooh, we already know what's going down here. I'm surprised it took this long.
Does anyone believe the Cowboys can get it together? Honestly,
I don't know.
Honestly, their defense is totally I love Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn is a really good coach.
You're right.
But their defense is based on turnovers last year, and historically, that is you regress to the mean. So if you take away their turnovers, they're no longer a good defense. I mean, not take them completely away, but you get them down to a normal number, and they're not a very good defense.
Correct.
Right? And Micah Parsons had an incredible year last year. Watching him, do I really think he's going to follow that season up with the same sack production? Honestly, no, because people will plan for him, and look, a linebacker only beats you once. That just doesn't happen. If you're an offensive lineman, you don't let a linebacker beat you again. And I'm talking about literally ever in your career.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That only happens one time. And Diggs, as good as his numbers are on the one side, you look at the other side in big plays, and of quarterback percentages against, like, throwing against him. Like, he's a feast or famine guy. You just wonder if that works out as far as being like an historically good tandem like Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if we're talking about, at least at this stage, they'd have to do it for a couple more years to prove that. And I'd be hard pressed to say that they're the same. I'd be hard pressed to say that they're the same two quality players, although they're both all pros. They're amazing. They're better players than I was. I'm not bad mouthing at all. I don't know if that's realistic.
No, I agree. It's not realistic. I'll just say this: it's not realistic. I think Jalen Ramsey and Arnold or Donald are definitely another level up. Tavon has a lot to learn, just to where he's not looking and sitting on the route. He has to make sure his game is more than I'm gonna get the picks off the easy quarterbacks because they're not reading properly, and take advantage of that. Use your use his skills. He's tall, he's lanky, he has the speed, but then find that extra level so he gets his game up to where he's more than just a perennial Pro Bowl, and he's all pro, and eventually that Hall of Fame level gameplay. So I think that's where that young DB could get better for that defense. But as we know, Mike McCarthy's coming back to Green Bay. That's going to be the headliner for all this, for all these players. And then obviously for Aaron Rodgers or any player along with Aaron, which is a few players that have played under Coach McCarthy, that's going to be the selling tag for what is this? Is this a regular game or is this Monday Night Football? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. But Joe Philbin's running the line down there. They're under a bit of a rebuild.
Rob Davis is down there too. He's on the roster as well.
And so they're gonna have. I think they're gonna have a new. Let me see. They're gonna have a new right tackle because they got the La'el Collins left for Cincinnati. Their left guard got signed somewhere else, so I think they have a guy, Tyler Smith, a left guard. Excuse me, but Zach Martin's been one of the best guys in the league for a lot of years. But now you look at Tryon Smith, who was a shoe-in Hall of Famer a couple of years ago, but his injuries have hurt. I don't think he's played an entire season since 2016, which is I didn't realize. We're going on 7 years. So between that and then how does that affect Ezekiel Elliott? Do they find a solution for Tony Pollard that makes him the kind of feature guy that, like, how do they use him? How do they get him even more involved in the offense? Because, everyone knows they started great last year, but then reality kind of set in. Yep. And, how do we get to a guy like Tony Pollard, who's one of the more dynamic? You look at him, you start thinking Deebo Samuel a little bit as far as I think what his capabilities are in the pass game and the run game. And how do you get that guy integrated in that offense more while having Ezekiel get his yards? Yeah.
I mean, I watched Ezekiel over the last couple of years, and he just kind of just plateaued. He's not having the big explosive plays. I don't know if he's feeling the pounding from his first couple of years, because he had a lot of carries his first couple of years as a Cowboy in the NFL as an NFL running back. And my question into that is, what is he doing in the offseason? How hard is he hitting those weights? How hard is he conditioning? Because if
his weight looks up and it fluctuates, doesn't it? It looks that way.
Exactly. It looks that way. And so now Tony Pollard, like you mentioned, he's a conversation, because Ezekiel not producing the way he was to earn that contract he got. And now it's like, all right, you got two starting running backs in the backfield. One, we know if he's on and talking about Ezekiel, he's pretty much the top back in the NFL, but right now he's a question mark in terms of his, looking like the guy he used to, if it's effort, if it's just not going back to that training style that he was before. What's the, that's the question that has to be answered. But I like Tony Pollard. He's a good, I say, a mix of back to go in there with Ezekiel, different size, different speed, but then also he helps out on special teams too. So, with that offense, they got weapons with CeeDee Lamb in the backfield. Michael Gallup came out throughout the year, where he was also being another deep ball threat and guy making, some really good catches and helping that, having Dak Prescott have 1-2 punch. I say two receivers to go to along with the run game if it can wake up this year. But I say for this game coming in Lambeau, I think it's still going to be, Packers, because that's this home field, something that since Mike McCarthy, they have make it a point to win their home games. And then that defense, as we talked about, the Packers defense still one of the top defenses in NFL.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the Packers are going to win this game. The coaching staffs, unfortunately, it might be fun to watch them play, but they don't play.
Right.
and it's again when I think talent over talent consumes the other here. I think the Packers are just a much better squad, particularly up front, and I think it's going to make a big difference in the game.
Definitely. So now we have We go to the next week. We got the Titans.
Yeah, big man coming now.
All right, we got
coming.
hopefully my man,
back.
my man. So he's back. Hopefully by this part of the season, he's back and he's healthy, raring to go. This will be the biggest test for this Packer defense in terms of running, stopping a running back along with the offensive line that can block and open holes for him.
And they have some offensive line issues as far as guys missing. Quisenberry actually filled in last year. Right tackle did a great job. So good that he's moved on and got another contract.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Saffold, who's one of the better guards in the league, is gone
he was
as
at
well.
The Rams for a long time.
Yep. So they have to plug that hole. Listen, the one thing about the Titans that no matter what hole they're in, they're smart enough, and I think they proved it again last year in the playoff loss. Like Tannehill has had a great resurrection of his career there. I'm a huge Tannehill fan. I was with him in Miami. He's just a guy that was dealt a series of bad hands with multiple different offensive coordinators and schemes and everything. And he's gone to a place and flourished. But at the end of all of that, he had AJ Brown. They got rid of him. Julio Jones didn't really work out, and so now they brought in the guy that we predicted as our first round pick, Traylon Burke. They brought him in. Robert Woods is going to be coming off that ACL, but he's coming over from the LA Rams. Yep. And you just wonder, is that enough? I guess to spread the ball around and keep those safeties honest, so that even if they're down 10 points, 13 points in the third quarter. This is a team that's not afraid to keep running it with that running back they have. No,
Vrabel has made that clear. Yeah, he's definitely made that clear in his time there.
This is one of those games for me. If that guy gets going, this is a great test for Darnell Savage and Amos. Can they make those tackles in the alley? Something that we've been talking about here for a year. And then I think the other thing on defense maybe is last year Jeffrey Simmons at D tackle. And then their entire defensive line, but really Jeffrey Simmons kind of stood as the guy who was making a lot of plays.
Right.
When I watch him, I think they're all really good players, but I don't know that he's a guy that I would game plan around. So it'd be interesting to see if he can back up. I think it's a lot of it situational as far as they ran a lot of games. They really fed against some bad offensive lines. Like they went into LA on a Monday Night Football game and just beat the brakes off the Rams because they had to drop back that game and made them look really silly. So I just wonder if he can follow that up against what I think is a much better and improved, I think, with the guys that are coming back, Packers offensive line. But this will be a good game. Certainly being at home is going to help us.
Yeah,
I take the Packers, AG.
And potentially being at home and potentially, inclement weather. It's November. It's mid-November. We know that time. But that's running weather as well. So for Tennessee and Mike Vrabel and that offense, what he likes to do – it's the weather for it, and he's proved that as a head coach. I mentioned that already. But then on that defense, that's what I believe the defense is good. This is probably the best defense from a pass game standpoint to defend what the Packers are doing offensively, passing the ball. So they'll have DBs that will match up with Lazard, that will match up with Watkins, that will even match up to see where at this time of the season where Christian Watson has developed as a rookie coming in and playing, because he's going to play right away. The question is, he's going to probably rotate with Watkins. So this defense here, I see, because Vrabel, being a defensive player, he has that team based around that defense, and that's where the run game comes into effect. So I like, their chances in Lambeau, but again, I think the Packers defense is a little bit stronger. So again, I'm gonna go victory here too for our green and gold players and coaching staff here.
So we're both right now. We're perfect in the second half so far. So
yeah. And when I looked at the overall, what was left, I would say it's only, and we're coming up to the games, but I kind of say this is time where the Packers will get on that roll, kind of like they did last year. And it started early, really. It started after that Saints game. When they lost to the Saints, then it was Lions, and I think it was the Vikings. It was 2 divisional games, and then boom, they were on that streak. So this is where, for me, I see them going on that streak again, coming out of that Buffalo game, coming off the Tampa game early in the season. So getting ready for the second half of the season here. And we got Eagles up next here.
Yeah, so we're at Eagles, and this is the game I think they might drop, because I think and the Eagles are built to win in December. Luckily it's a November game. I think it's the end of November, and we were talking about great point. I think having guys like Aaron Rodgers understanding that the doldrums of November, being able to make that push and get on that roll to go into December, getting ready for the playoffs is something that sometimes might need some veteran leadership that obviously the Packers have. But
well, you're saying that too with a new coaching staff. You got Nick Sirianni as the new head coach. So
yeah, they've done a fantastic job though. Top rusher. Listen, they're built to win in December because they run
second year
the ball.
Second year coach.
They run the ball and they stop the run.
Okay.
Right? They're going to test our guys in the secondary. Are you able to make plays? Because they have a fantastic offensive line. They have a fantastic scheme. Their Jalen Hurts is their guy now. He's making plays. They have faith in him. They think he's a great leader. He's a player on the upswing. He's only, in my mind, he's going to have an even better year than he had last year. They brought in Hassan Reddick from Carolina. Yeah, they brought in Hassan Reddick to go with Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox up front. I mean, they've got some those are no joke players. Those are players that are going to give you problems.
Yeah,
those three players will give you problems up front. Okay, they have Devontae Smith. They have AJ Brown now. They traded AJ Brown to pick up the AJ Brown 2.0. In Tennessee. They have Dallas Goedert, who's one of the more athletic receiving tight ends in the league. They have Miles Sanders at running back. Like one of their players said it sounds like an all-star team. Like it kind of does.
It does.
Lane Johnson. I mean, they got the Maletta kid from the rugby player that's like 6'10", 4,000. I mean, the guy's a monster. Right.
Right.
Tackle. They got Brian. I mean, Brian Brown retired, but they're just they still have Kelsey at center. They're really, really good, and they're a team that can just pound you and unapologetically. They'll run the ball 60 times, man. They don't care.
Yeah, I say their only weakness last year was the youth. They were a young team. So now that young team has a year together. Jalen has now have another offseason to develop with that coaching staff, develop with his coordinator to kind of, because the best thing is when the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, they find those plays for that player, their best player. And be like, all right, this is the play that's going to work for you, pass and run. Tell me what you like so we could scheme this into the game plan weekly, week over week. And the part I love is getting A.J. Brown. I'm still trying to figure out how did he get out of Tennessee? How they even let him go. But knowing Vrabel, he took his homework from Bill Belichick, knowing how to move guys and have he only knows that rhyme or reason.
That receiver market got so hot this offseason.
Yes.
And AJ Brown, they knew AJ Brown was going to command now $25 million plus. And you're just looking at it like, dude, we didn't slot for that kind of money.
Yeah. And
so they basically bought through a draft pick another AJ Brown. Like we don't know if Jalen's going to be as good as AJ, right? Because AJ is a great player, but big physical receiver is going to be able to do everything they want in the game, and it literally pennies on the dollar for what they were going to have to pay. I mean, you see AJ Brown goes there, he signs I forgot what the numbers were, but it was an absurd contract with the Eagles, and it's like you just if you and I go car shopping. We want to spend $40,000, and all of a sudden the shiny car over there, and all of a sudden jacks up to $60,000. Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, you got to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, and that's why I said he learned from Bill Belichick, understanding what bills to get paid. Okay, we need to pay this, do this, but we don't need that. And they moved on from AJ. But I say with this being in this is in Lambeau. No, this is in Philly.
This is in Philly.
So for you, trap game here.
This is a tough game. I don't know if it's a trap game or not. I just think I think this is a tough road win. I think it's a really tough. Eventually they're going to have to lose a game.
Yeah.
For me, it was between this game and the Rams. I don't think they're going to lose both, and I think they're going to lose this game just because they're on the road against a team that if you're going to run the ball 40, 50 times a game, like I'm pretty confident. I'll tell you this until the cows come home. Man, you're running the ball 40, 50 times, like we're going to win.
Right. And so I got to agree with you here. This is going to be the game that goes down because it's a road game. And like you said, this offense looks like, or this team, not this offense, the team looks like an all-star roster here. So that takes us into going into Chicago on the road, got the Bears at their place.
I'm just going to I don't care about it at all. I think they're going to win. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You can talk about it if you want, but it's just like,
it's the Bears, young team. They do have good players? Yes. They have okay coaching.
But look at their roster. Like they really don't have Allen Robinson's gone, right? We don't know what Justin Fields is.
True.
Akeem Hicks is gone. We talked about it last week. Their both defensive ends are either gone or wanting to leave. Like they don't really have a good roster.
Nah, overall, no. Highlights.
I recognize one name on the offensive line. One.
I was going to ask you about their line, but when you say that, right, Lucas Patrick, I look at it too, like Lucas Patrick, and he was here. And only for me to run game, David Montgomery, he's been a solid running back for them since he got drafted at Iowa State. So, I mean, I kind of get a little excited because Brian Pringle, he has some speed. He was with Kansas City in their offense, but he wasn't a starter. So now he's going to be a full-time starter. So that changes, obviously, mentality and workload for him. And he didn't have a full workload in Kansas City. He was rotating with basically it was a track team with Kansas City. Now he's going to be that starting guy, potentially number one guy. And so we'll see what the rookie Jones Jr. does there. So outside of that, yeah, it's just going to be a normal, as we've been watching through the last, I think, 4 years of Packers beating up on the Bears and moving on to the next game. And that next game is that Rams game that we're both talking about here. It's the good thing here, it is in Lambeau Field. It's a late game on I think that's a Sunday on December 19th. So late kickoff there for them. So again, I said this with the let me go back to the the Tennessee game. Inclement weather. It's an LA team, but we know they're pros. They're gonna come play. Aaron Donald, he played at Pittsburgh anyway, so I don't think that's really a factor. But you'll just have that coming in just factually. I think it's gonna be one hell of a game. What are your thoughts on this, Mike?
Well, I think Stafford himself has said that he knows the offense much better already, just having time there. So the expectation is he'd play even better. He had some up and down games during the course of the season last year. Obviously, played excellent in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and he's a phenomenal player. I'll be interested to see. It's very, very difficult, I think, for teams who won the Super Bowl to kind of stay up. So there's always that lag.
Yeah, it is.
There's that roster hold. When the expectations change. Now, Aaron Donald coming back and, making sure to hold everybody accountable, being a generational talent that he is. I don't know if that happens. I do think their offensive line's a weakness. They lost the guard to Carolina. Whitworth, Whitworth's an amazing human. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't playing great football at the late, but he's a locker room guy. He's a leader, and he's gone. And so they have to replace those component parts that are important. We saw how they struggle when they get into drop back mode. They brought in Allen Robinson Jr. from Chicago. He's a stud to replace Brooks, and I don't know if OBJ is going to go back there. There's rumors that that's happening, but they've got Cooper Kupp. They've got weapons. Cam Akers is going to be healthy all year, hopefully, so he'll be there. And they brought in Bobby Wagner on defense, one of my all-time favorites at middle linebacker. So he's going to help. Yeah, he's going to help. Just from a confidence and play calling standpoint, he helps a ton in any defense he shows up in. Not to mention his incredible production. So I think they're going to be a good team. This is the game. I had to pick. You kind of see the Packers dropping one of these. I don't see them dropping two, so I have them winning at home versus the Rams for sure.
Yeah, this was my pick for getting the L because of just a team that this is midseason form team coming in and want to get that hunger back for getting back to another Super Bowl and could be on a high note. Cooper Kupp, I like the way he plays football. He's a wide receiver, but he plays it gritty, and because he doesn't have the size, he has the tools and the technique and just that mindset to I'm gonna beat whoever's in front of me. He doesn't say it; he just let his actions do that. And then I like Tyler Higbee as a tight end there, and then Kyle Makers and the run game. Darnell Henderson Jr. too. Those guys help that offense flow, and hopefully they could be flowing here then. And that's why I would take them.
Rashawn Gary had his kind of his like not his breakout game, but kind of like, hey, welcome world. Here's who I am.
Right.
When he beat Whitworth for a sack fumble early in the game when they played him last time. Last year, and it set the tone for the game. So. I look for something like that as the same kind of dominance, I think, from our defensive line versus these guys. And I think it's probably the difference maker in the game.
Right. Potentially. So, yeah, I'm going to go Rams here for that. They come to Lambeau and shock the guys, give them that mid-season wake-up call because then gets them on the road for that playoff push here in December. So, next game on the list. So, we're back. We're out.
Dolphins.
Oh, my God. Late season. In Miami, in Florida, it's going to be definitely warm because we know what it's going to be here in Wisconsin. It's going to probably at least be 20 degrees by December 25th, by Christmas Day. So in Miami, it could be anywhere from 60 to 80 degrees and humid on top of that. So that will be a factor, but not a huge factor, but it will be a factor because this Miami Dolphins team is, a team you know very well, Mike. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so I think at this stage the Dolphins are either one of two places. They're either a complete disaster, or they're right in the playoff hunt. I'd flip a coin. I don't know if anybody outside of Miami and maybe Alabama thinks that Tua is going to be the guy and play well. Like I just personally I just don't see it. But I think that new coach is going. I think he's really smart. I don't know. It sounds like it's a follow the dictator coach, and he's going to do things a different way. Usually, guys like that doesn't always work out. So we'll have to see about that. I'll tell you just from experience.
Right.
I'll tell you something. Not the weather that does opposing teams in when they come down Miami. It's the nightlife.
Oh yeah, I know. That's where you were. I knew where you were.
Been more than a couple times where we see like the middle linebacker throwing up on the field from the opposing team because he was out partying that night before. And these guys have a ton of weapons. We know about Tyreek Hill. We know about Jalen Waddle. There's offensive line was the worst in the league.
Chase Asman at running back. Got him
they're still awful up front. I don't really listen. Xavier Howard's one of the best DBs in the league. He's a phenomenal player. I don't know that they've drafted well overall, outside of him and maybe a handful of other guys, but they've got some good, not great players in the box. It's a lot of scheme stuff that I think, honestly, I just don't think like Aaron Rodgers gets fooled. No. So when you're playing against scheme stuff, like AG, you know this, right? When you see a defensive line moving around and doing all this like nonsense, it's actually for us, it's kind of a confidence booster because we're like, oh, they can't play with us, so they have to move around. And we know, and you know, that when somebody turns their hips to the sidelines, it's easier for me to push them vertically. And when I can push them vertically, you have a much bigger hole. So we get really excited when this stuff happens. But if you're not prepared, you can see. Like I remember they played Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, I think last year before he got hurt, and they just all out blitz, dominated. Didn't have a pickup scheme for him, and it hurt them. But I just don't you don't see that happening against Aaron Rodgers. So I think this is a win for the Packers.
No, I agree with you. Win here for the guys. I mean, I just say give a big shout out to Darrell Bevell. We got Darrell Bevell down there coaching quarterback, so maybe he could bring some experience. I don't know what he could bring to Tua and the other quarterbacks on that staff, but he's going to have a home, not a nice homecoming. I'll say that for Darrell Bevell because he played at Wisconsin and coached during our time here at Green Bay. I think that would be the only cool thing to see him. But yeah, they definitely walking out of here with an L. So go ahead down to, we're almost 2 games left here. The first one is on New Year's Day and in Minnesota. So it started the season with Minnesota, going to Minnesota, now Minnesota coming to the Pack. So now it's the end of the season. So what are the potential changes here for these guys?
This could be for playoff seeding, right? I mean,
potentially.
The Vikings, the Packers benefit from being in the NFC North and getting to play with the Bears and the Lions twice a year. So do the Vikings.
Exactly.
Right. And so this could be a game that has a lot on the line. You're going to get the Vikings best. The Packers are, I'm sure, either playing for the the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, playing for the division. But they're trying to make their way into the playoffs. And so this is one of those games that is actually on paper right now. We're not sure how exciting it is because we don't know what we're going to get from Minnesota. But we have to assume they're going to be fighting for second place, fighting for a playoff spot in the upcoming 2023 playoffs. So I think this is going to be a big game. It's going to come down to, luckily, I think this one we're at home. The Kirk Cousins versus Aaron Rodgers narrative, and can Kirk Cousins finally kind of earn 1 year of that paycheck as far as not being he's a good player, no he's a good player, no he's a good player, but oh man, this is the reason that our team is going to the playoffs. This guy's a difference maker. I don't think it's going to happen in Lambeau in the end of December, but stranger things have happened.
True. And I just know for the Packers defense, they know Kirk Cousins very well. They played against him especially at home. They played better against him at home than in Minnesota. So I'll say they definitely will have his number there. And then, offense, he does have the players and weapons around him, but obviously everything flows through Kirk. If they slow Kirk down, then Justin Jefferson is not a problem. Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne, those guys are not an issue because the quarterback can't get the ball out or is disrupted, by the D-line, stuff like that. So for me too, this is most likely going to be a loss, but it could be a lot riding on this game because the first half of the season, we don't know. We'll find out how that would go. And then come this game, come January 1st, this could be a big game. So now we got Detroit to finish up the wrap up the season coming into Lambeau now. So we got these Lions who we just talked about. And it's just going to be, it's like I said, it was just 2 games that I mentioned earlier in the show that is both of them going to be Packers because there's a lot going on in Detroit, as we know.
Okay, so first of all, didn't we have to play them the last game of the season last year? Because this is where I'm going to give the Packers the L based on last year.
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
I mean, because if we wrap it up, LaFleur's not going to play our starters. Yep, I don't think Jordan Love is good enough to beat their first team. That's their Super Bowl. They want to go off and go out for the win. Correct. It's going to be a huge game, just like it was last year. It's a big game for them. It's not a big game for us because we're already probably locked into whatever seed we're in the playoffs.
All right. And
honestly, Detroit's an improving team. Our second team is not going to beat them. Our second team quarterback's not going to beat them. So
we got
that being said, that's the L. I have 2 L's in the front and 2 L's in the back, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't quite thinking ahead, but yeah, if they are already clinched, won a division, right? So yeah, last year was the backups doing their thing for the first. I think Aaron started the game, but then Jordan Love came in and finished the game and ended up losing, but it didn't matter. They were already in. So I would say this would be the other if that is the case. If Packers, are in the position they should be in, playing the football, high quality football, they win a division, then yeah, that is what is a loss for the Packers, but they're already in the playoffs. And now we could take this on to trench warfare. So we got some camp matchup battles to watch. So we're going to start here with the whiteouts. Coming off the line here, Lazard, Watson, and Watkins. Watson and Watkins. Wow, it's going to be a tongue twister there for this season coming up, Mike. So what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, just trying to figure out who's going to be that number 1 guy. Obviously, it sounded like with Aaron Rodgers talking that maybe Lazard has that inside track to be the number 1 guy. I think everybody's just super, super interested to see what Christian Watson brings to the table. Mm-hmm. Just because the athleticism, small school kid, we talked about it before. If you're a small school kid that's 6'5", runs a 4.36, you weren't always that way. So you got a lot of other intangible qualities, that I think play big in the NFL. And we'll see what his learning curve's like. And then, look, Sammy Watkins was a first-round pick for a reason. He was a great player with the Bills until he got hurt. His injuries has hurt him during the course of his career. But we've got guys that it's kind of an exciting time. Like you lose the best receiver in football, that sucks. But you do look at this now and go, well, gosh, we have some options here, and it's not like Aaron knows how to throw to a lot of different people. That last game against San Francisco, when a lot of experts say that he locked on to one target, maybe more than he should have towards the end of the game because that's who he trusted. We don't have that option anymore. So this is this camp battle is going to be the one to watch.
Right. And I believe that will help bring Aaron's game to, not saying he didn't have it in the game, but where he basically uses all the options that are out there on the football field, where in certain, tight situations or must play, big play situations like they had again the early game against the 49ers that he hit Devontae with over the middle to get Mason into the field goal range. So now he could have to, go that whole palette of receivers that he has out there. So to have these 3 guys, I think these are 3 great options in Lazard, Watson, and Watson. And so Lazard, I like the fact, he's here. He's been here for a while, so he definitely has the trust there. So there's nothing that has to be built between him and Aaron. It's just now Watson and Watkins. They just, I say they're just going to be behind a little bit just because, it's a new team. They got to learn plays. They got to get the flow, learn Aaron. Aaron has to learn them. So that'll be the biggest, differences between their practicing and game playing come preseason ball and then also the regular season. So for them, like I said, they got a good crew of guys right there, good leadership too as well. And so
if you look at that second tier now, you got Amari Rodgers and Romeo Doubs that are coming in, the rookie coming in battling. And, not anybody's really talking about Amari Rodgers because he didn't have a great year last year.
No, he's just mostly special teams. That was about it.
Yeah, and special teams were the weakness of the
unfortunately.
Team. I think he only had 4 receptions last year.
Yeah,
but you just right. And Romeo Doubs, something that I didn't know until I started doing some research for this. He led the country in deep ball touchdowns last season.
That was in college.
The kid's got a little something to him. And contrast that when we were supposed to have Amari Rodgers on the show, he was a no-show for us. So we'll try to get him on.
Yeah.
But he did come into camp. He had said, look, and we kind of noticed this last year. He looked a little bit thick, lack of a better word. He's come in better fit. He's rearranged his physiology a little bit. So I think he's in a better physical space and a better headspace. And listen, we need to be able to put multiple receivers on the field at different positions. That slot position is going to be open. And I know Randall Cobb's there, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see how those guys battle.
Yeah, I mean, and for Rodgers, he has that running back build, so he could be the way LaFleur likes to mess around with different players, going in the backfield, handing it off, doing reverse plays. He could be that guy there. And for Romeo Doubs, being, even though he was in a small conference, being in where Nevada is at, but he was able to, whatever coach he had there, developed his talent and size in terms of his size as well, because he has the wherewithal to come off the line and break press coverage when he's on the goal line, know how to run those routes to get open, because those quick routes, you could throw a flat ball to get that like a corner route, that beats the DB. So he has those tools already. So hopefully he can continue to develop that at this level. So that'll be a really good battle. And I could give my head nod to Romeo, because he just has the height advantage and just more what he did at the college level than Amari, because Amari was at Clemson. He had a lot of good players around him, really only had a few times to shine there, and then Romeo had a place where he was kind of the top dog, so he can get back to that feeling. He'll be a guy that could potentially stand out for the young rookie receivers here in Packers training camp coming up. So coming up now, we got the D linemen. So we got Wyatt, Reed, and Lowry here, Mike. So what's your thoughts here?
We're just trying to figure out who emerges as that kind of we'll call it a 2-down starter,
right,
instead of a 3-down starter, because I think with the rotation now, I think Kenny Clark's a 3-down player. Dean Lowry was a 3-down player last year. I don't know that he's going to be a 3-down player with Wyatt there now. It's just, we'll see how that. We'll have to see how the backup defensive end / linebackers emerge as far as pass rushers.
Yeah.
But Lowry was a good player for us last year. He had his best season. People are kind of dismissing him because they brought in Devontae Wyatt with the first pick. They brought in Reed from, I think, Kansas City, and he's a run stopping guy. He's a space eater. He's a guy that can, you can put him in. It's just, just like Ted Washington or, the guys that we tractor trade, the guys that we played against.
Big guys.
You can put them in, and they'll just kind of be there in the game, kind of taking up space, not necessarily rushing the passer, but holding their own in the ground game. And they'll be there for 30, 40 plays in the game. Before you know it, they've got a ton of snaps. So with these guys trying to figure out who's going to obviously Lowry probably starts the season at number one, but
I agree.
I'm really interested to see what their rotation looks like. And the other thing is too, we start out usually in that 3-4 look, or 5-2, depending on how you want to call it. But these three guys are looking at 2 spots, and you would think Reed's going to be there playing nose tackle early on. That's just kind of his build. But I'll just be interested. This whole thing is going to be kind of, we have a wealth of talent at the receiver position that is kind of, when I say that, it's kind of an unknown. The unknown outcome right now, because you were just talking about Amari Rodgers with all the in the backfield stuff he can do. We have Aaron Jones too. You know what I mean? It's there's only so many things we can do, and with these guys, you bring in Devontae Wyatt's going to see the field. He's a first-round draft pick. We know this. Dean Lowry deserves to be on the field. He played great last year. We know that
he's earned it.
Been a player in this league, so there's only so many spots, guys. You know this better than I do, because I wasn't a rotational player. That we just by nature, running backs rotate more than offensive linemen.
Right.
But you want to get into a groove, and
100%.
When you are taking
100%.
If you're rotating with one person, so there's 2 of you, that's one thing. If you're rotating with 3 people, that is a whole different thing that does not play well if you're trying to get into the groove, does it?
100%. It does it, because when you got 3 people rotating in a, even though real time is an hour or game time is an hour gameplay, but obviously you do actual time, it's 3-4 hour football being played, and you have those plays that are being counted by somebody on the sidelines, and you're rotating guys. To get out of 3 rotations, you're not going to get a whole lot of plays. Maybe 1-2 snaps defensively to get a guy in there, and you don't want these guys. If I'm the DC and I got Dean, he's my one guy. For one, I got a lot of confidence in, because I've seen him develop, being a great leader and a 100% effort type player, but also knows my scheme. Jaron Reed, coming in from another team, but all the teams he's been on, he's been a guy who's been disruptive. He's done what his job is supposed to be doing at a DN, cause problems in the defensive, in the offensive backfield. The only one, Devontae White, just see how he develops in training camp, see what he knows. Obviously we know his talent's there because he played at Georgia. Georgia had a great defense overall to get a whole bunch of their guys drafted. So now let's see what that talent is like. So that's the question mark for him. Not, that could go either way. It could be like, oh my God, he is the next Kenny Clark back there. Now we can, bring him in.
He's got the physical traits. He played the 4-eye in the Georgia defense. He pops off the screen a little bit with his physical attributes, but as we know, that has to translate when you put the pads on.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure it will, but I don't know where that leaves these other guys. And it kind of goes into our next one. Yep. You have a guy with Dean Lowry who isn't necessarily as athletic, but that doesn't mean he isn't as effective. And it just is in the Packers staff to go, are we trying to play the best player now, or are we trying to head this guy because he has a higher ceiling athletically than maybe a Dean Lowry does?
True. And that is a slippery slope. That could become a slippery slope.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem. It could become a problem, right, in the league overall. But yeah, here on this team, I think you go. I believe they got to go with Dean just because of his experience and what he's done over the last couple of years. So the next bunch of guys are two guys here. So we got Quay Walker, the first round draft pick, linebacker out of Georgia, and then Chris Barnes, the veteran who solidly, along with Devondre Campbell, led the Packers defense in doing their job as linebackers. So where are you at here, Mike?
Well, the question, Quay Walker, again, first round pick, and we talked about it last week. I'm curious to see, because of the athletic talent and the draft pick status, do we tailor the defense for Walker, or is this kind of a fair fight where they go in and say, hey, this is what we run, whoever runs it best is going to play? In which case, I'd put my money on Chris Barnes.
Right.
If it's hey, we're switching things around because we have this what we think is a unique talent,
right,
and we're going to do things differently than we used to, like we talked about last week. We're not even going to have a dime package anymore because we think he can be in there the whole time. Then it'll just be interesting to see how they utilize that guy. And if a guy like Chris Barnes, who we've had players come on and say, this is a leader on our team. This guy fulfilled a leadership role and played at a high level. And we, week in and week out, where he was jumping off film as a guy for us that was a very sure tackler, a physical player, a guy that made his presence felt on the defense. Like, I want to make sure that this guy gets a fair fight. I'm not saying he's not going to play more than Quay Walker. I'm not saying any of that. But I'd hate to see a good player lose an opportunity because a first-round draft pick came in.
Correct. And I agree with that, because the guy that already produced, you already know what he's going to do in terms of Chris Barnes, because he did it last year and the year before. So go with somebody but just until that time, let that player, work his way up. Quay Walker, you got to, just like anything else, I know during our time it was a thing. You earn your position, and because you get out there practicing, watching film, and then showing that ability coming out. For us as coaches, just like, look, you got to prove it to me. If we were coaching, I know, and that's the way it should be. Just like you said, I'm not giving it to a kid just because he was our first round draft pick. You can't tell me from the front office and come downstairs to me and be like, hey, we got to put this. No, he hasn't showed me this, and this. You want us to win games, you want that position to hold water, then they got to do this. The guy in front of him, Chris Barnes, like I said, for me, he holds water. He's done his job year in and year out so far. So there's going to be some great battles at all these positions. Can't wait to hear the real stuff, because right now we're trying to pull stuff out of air, what to talk about. So we're going to take it over to Get Off My Lawn, and you have some fun stuff here, and you got to explain this first one to me, because I'm reading it. I'm like, what is going on with the Ross Street?
So I was reading this article in the Wall Street Journal this morning. They were talking about how you can get on a Carnival Cruise Line for about the same cost as going to a Motel 6. Okay. So the cruise, obviously,
that is comedy. Lines. Just the line itself
just you think about comedy. And Motel 6 was like the one when you were in college. You remember you go to Motel 6 when you're going to a concert, and you and your buddies would get one room, and you'd fill the bathtub up with ice. You throw all the beer in there.
Yeah.
You tailgate in the room, and you go to the cotton. Well, anyways, that's what we used to do. So that's what I think of when I think of Motel 6. I was like, so
I've been a part of that one time.
Yeah. So Carnival Cruise Lines now is about the same price as going to a Motel 6. So I'm not a cruise kind of. I just don't know if I can be set. I still don't think I can sit on a cruise ship for any amount of time. I've seen now through COVID, through some other things where they get like, stranded out off the port.
It's a bad idea to be on a cruise trip.
Yeah.
Right,
sickness,
unfortunately, it's
anything
fun.
can happen. And I'm just like, man, I'm still not going. I don't know about you. I'll just go stay at the Motel 6. I'll get the case of beer, the ice. I'll find a rock concert to go to. I'll call it a day.
Hey, with that being said, yeah, I'm joining with you at that rock concert. Who we going to see? That's all I was saying.
Okay, so yeah, if we're talking about that, so I heard Motley Crue's playing again.
Yeah, they're playing. They're going to be in Miller Park on July 17th. July 17th.
Man, you find the Motel 6, I'll get the tickets.
I love it. That is amazing. And for the cruises I've been on, up until COVID, everything cruise lines were pretty good, But obviously there is the little, I say the sickness part because you touching, grabbing stuff, the doorknobs, and people don't watch, how that happens. That was happening before COVID, so I can't even imagine getting on a cruise now post COVID. And then I remember some of the cruise lines. The one I went on was a Packer fan one. We went on a few 2 years before COVID, and then right after that, that's when all the cruises were like dropping anchor in the punching holes in the bottom of the ship and sinking halfway on the tour. It was like, what is going on with cruise ships? Unfortunately, man, they are fun when they're functioning right. You will like some of the cruise lines I've been on with Norwegian. They have I don't know. Are you a pizza guy?
I'm not, but you can convince me. Yeah.
Okay, pepperoni pizzas 24/7, baby, and ice cream, soft serve chocolate and vanilla ice cream 24/7. Boom.
See, this is why you play running back and you're all ripped up, eat pizza and ice cream. It makes me sick to my stomach.
Hey, and you all hours of the night, you just jump up. Oh, I'm gonna go get a pepperoni pizza right now. Just letting you know.
All right, AGs. Here's this one. All right, so I'm part of this.
I'm ready for this one. I like this one.
I'm part of my fantasy football leagues. All my NBA buddies are from all over the world, right? So they're and a lot of them are rugby players, ice hockey players, and so this poll came out. I can't remember how they did it, but they based it on like 5 factors: speed, power, mental aptitude, competitive mindset, degree of difficulty, hand-eye coordination, and it was the most difficult sports to be good at. And the top 3 were boxing, ice hockey, and football.
Really?
Okay. And I just want to know. I just was curious what you thought of that because my ice hockey kid was, of course, like, "Oh, see, I told you." And it's like, dude, of course, I mean, ice hockey's got to be the most difficult sport because you guys are skating, the puck, the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're just like, there's not that many people that do it. There's a 200 million people that play soccer internationally. There's 10 million people that play ice hockey. I'm just saying it's not as competitive because there's not that many people. But
special.
having said that, boxing, because it's mano a mano, I get that. But then if boxing's number 1, like MMA was like 16, I'm like, MMA is harder than boxing.
Right. That don't make sense to me. And so I don't quite agree with this. I mean, I respect boxing as a sport. Hell yes. 100% I respect it because of obviously what you got to learn and do, and obviously not get your head bashed in every time you're out there. But in terms of comparing it to ice hockey, football, and then you think, like you said, MMA, but then I think about between rugby, games, like some of the international games that are not as popular here in America. So there's sports that, that are trump some of the I say techniques, things you got to learn. Where was baseball at? That's just my question.
I can't recall. Yeah, I can't recall, but I was just trying to figure out this way. If you're at the absolute top of what's the hardest thing to be at the absolute top of the game, like the pro level? Because one of my guys said, well, nobody's beaten Usain Bolt, so that's what running's got to be the hardest thing. And I go, no, well, yeah, but not really. Like
it's not hard. No, the training.
It's not hard like that, right? Like it has to be a confrontational sport is going to be harder than a non-confrontational. Like if it's me versus you, that's harder than me versus a judge or a track or something like that. So I would say that. But then, I didn't think football would be 3 because your skill set and my skill set are different. Running, quarterback skill set's different.
Yeah.
But we all have to be physical. But I would also say that football is a lot harder than rugby, even though every one of those guys has to be generalists because the athletes in football are so much better, right? So they must have looked at this like, okay, boxers probably on par are probably better athletes right now on par than MMA guys. Hockey's just hockey. It's really, really hard. And then they look at football and basketball, and they're like, okay, well, basketball is a difficult sport, but it's not as violent. Football's so violent, so athletic.
Correct.
I mean, I was over at this. I told you that I was over at watching these guys work out today.
Right.
And it's like you get so jacked up, man. Did you remember like how much harder football players train to play football than other sports train to play their sport? Like it's like I have soccer players and they train hard and it's a lot of time, dude. It's nothing. It's not even close to as hard as these kids are training for football.
No. I remember football training days, high school. Between the wind sprints or running the hills or dragging a tire, flipping a tire for strength, along with the lifting we already did in the weight room. I remember my first time where 225 set me down and I ended up doing a front squat, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a full on squat right now because it was the heaviest. I was a junior and it was the heaviest I actually cleaned and was able to get it, but then it set me down. And coming out of that and then go outside and we run 8 200s. An hour later, we're on the track doing that, which was definitely not good. But
I was going to say that part of it is the ineptitude of a lot of our coaches back, especially in our generation, just trying to it's like Bear Bryant didn't want you to drink water. So we've come a long way, but it's still these guys spend a lot of time, man. It's impressive.
Definitely put in a lot of time. So head on to this last one here. Scratching my head on this one too.
Oh, okay. So I just heard.
Whered you find this one from? That's all I want to know.
Dude, I was.
You go down that rabbit hole on Twitter, don't you? It's that Twitter rabbit hole.
No. I actually heard this on I think like Rich Eisen's sports show this morning or like Barstool Sports or something.
Cool. Oh, that's no surprise.
So Zach Wilson, the quarterback for the Jets, he breaks up with his ex-girlfriend. His ex-girlfriend starts dating his college roommate or his best friend from college who plays for another pro team now, wide receiver.
Right.
And then she says something like, "It's good that BYU is the Cougars because Zach Wilson's been sleeping with his mom's best friend or is or something." And I'm just like, my immediate thing is, and this is me growing up in the 80s and 90s, thinking like, okay, Zach Wilson's sleeping with his mom's best friend. My immediate thought is like, they're both of age, so I can't get in trouble. Is this awesome or not awesome?
I don't know.
Is it awesome or is it not awesome? Is it awesome that Zach Wilson's sleeping with his mom's best friend, or is it not awesome? I'm not really sure.
I'm not really sure either. Like if it's just them two, are they exclusively doing their thing?
No, I can't. Well, yeah. And here's the other thing.
He's not cheating on anybody type thing.
Wow. Who knows? Right. But here's the other part of it. So we had a guy, I'm not going to disclose, but we had a guy whose girlfriend was so his college teammate, roommate.
Right.
Okay. So his girlfriend was sleeping in, so there's roommate A is in door A, our guy's in door B, some guy's in door C, right?
And then the
girlfriend was going into room A for like 3 years, right? Dating the other guy. This kid gets drafted higher. She shuts door A and walks over to door B.
Wow.
Oh, and then, can you imagine, AG, we found out in the meeting room. Like that.
In that meeting room? Oh, my God.
Because there was teammates from college on the team and our minds were blown.
It was, how long did y'all go on that? That's all I want to know.
It honestly never stopped.
I was going to say, once y'all got something.
If it would have been in Green Bay, if we would have been in Green Bay, if Flanagan and Marco would have found out about that.
Oh, it wasn't here. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I would have found out about it. I would have found out about it.
No, AG, if that happened in Green Bay, we would have all found out about it, and it would have been a locker room conversation, not a meeting room conversation. It would have been a locker room conversation. Al Harris, Mike McKenzie would have had something to say.
Everybody, So I'll say this for Zach: if everything's consensual, they're above age, they're grown people. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Now, what about his girlfriend skipping town to go date his best friend?
Okay, that's not
cold
awesome.
As hell.
That's not awesome.
See, but it's like I just kind of go, that's kind of good for her. I was like,
if she's broken up, hey, she got to do her. I have no problem with it. It's just, for Zach, it's not awesome. He has to hear about it from his teammates.
No, but see, we can get if you had a couple cocktails now, there could be some real interesting bar conversations if that goes any further. I had a buddy who got married. let's just put it this way. So you go into the church and there's pews in the church, right? The first pew is all the family, and then all his like best friends are in the second and third pew.
Right.
So they're walking down the aisle, and my buddy, my ex-roommate's sitting in the third pew. And he goes to this wedding. I go, how's the wedding? He goes, I swear to God, it's the weirdest thing in the world. The bride had slept with everybody in the second and third pew except for me. It was really awkward.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, that's it. So fast forward like 7 years later, we're all hanging out.
Right.
And we're at the beach, and one of the guys that was in the second pew was like, where's your wife? She's so-and-so. Yeah, you better watch her when she's, at this bar, man, she gets out of control. And everyone just stopped. And the dude immediately realized what he had done. And the husband's like, dude, he's like, my bad, man, I forgot. It's like, oh,
hey, that's tough. That's tough right there. Yeah, you got to know your environment, man, and know who you're dealing with. Oh, man. But that wraps up our show here. We'll be back next week to talk some more pre-camp topics that pop up here. So you can find us on the podcast ecosystem. It's iHeart and Pandora. I found out one called Buzzsprout. This Buzzsprout. That's a whole new podcast neighborhood. I never knew until last week. Get stuff transferred over to there as well. And so you can follow me on my on the screen here, my Ahman Green 30. That's my Instagram and Twitter. And Mike, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yeah, Mike Wall 68 on Twitter. Process to Perform Instagram. AG, as always, it was a pleasure, bud.
Same here. Doing good. Talk to you later, Mike.